Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. A very somber episode 181 of Rickcast. And days like today are days that people like myself and people in the sphere that I exist in think about, talk about, plan about, but never want to actually discuss as happening. And that is the tragic news that Charlie Kirk, Turning Point USA, 31 years old, was killed earlier today doing what he felt he was put on this earth to do, which was to reach out to people and talk. And I think a lot of us feel sick. Somebody asked me, am I sick? No, I'm numb. Because people like myself have been screaming for 2+ years about the road that we are taking in this union. So first of all, the people in the chat are correct. Let's start this show correctly. For Charlie Kirk, eternal rest, grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. May he rest in peace. Eternal rest, grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. May he rest in peace. Eternal rest, grant unto him, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon him. May he rest in peace. And may God, in his infinite mercy, grant grace and comfort to his wife and to his 2 beautiful children. And that's the thing that is lost in all of these things. Social media and the politicalization of life has turned people into objects. Yeah, Charlie Kirk is off the board. Charlie Kirk was a husband and a father. He existed. He was a person. And if you watched my shows for the longest time, even back to the days of when I was on the Crusade channel, I disagreed with many things that Charlie Kirk talked about. I was not a huge fan. I didn't like a lot of the things he did. But I never would ever wish any kind of harm to him. And the fact that people are so disconnected in life, the fact that people are so sanitized is probably the word I'd like to use. They're so sanitized in the fact that they just don't care. He is a person behind a screen. The loss of human contact has made it to where a man is dead and half the population is celebrating it. And it's a pretty terrible thing to acknowledge. It's a pretty terrible thing to actually understand that people are not really grasping that he is dead. And it is very interesting in this in the tech era, in the era where we are so connected and yet not at the same time. The people who feel that Charlie Kirk was some kind of enemy because of his disbelief politically. And people are saying it's been on X all day, right wing X all day, Amy. The fact that people are feeling justified in this outrage towards him, towards the assailant, towards the person who is now in custody. By the way, this just came in. He had the person that has been supposedly the person who committed the crime has been captured by the FBI, according to the FBI. So we're seeing how people react in real time to this, and how people are reacting in real time to this death. And if you look at it, when people like myself say, hey, this has not been a good thing for the direction the country has been going in since pretty much, you could say, for 10 years, since Trump came down the escalator, and the escalation of words and violence that the left has been able to get away with, Antifa, Black Lives Matter, anything in the name of it. Think about the major assassination attempts that have taken place. Rand Paul, Steve Scalise, Trump. And so the conservative movement, which has been labeled the domestic terrorist, which has been labeled the white supremacist, the evil side of America, as Joe Biden said at his, um, empire speech with the red behind him. White supremacy is the single greatest threat to America. They have pumped the left to such an insane level that this is the only recourse they think they have. I should have grabbed the video, but there was a video from the senator from Connecticut, Murphy, yesterday, saying you have to do whatever you can to stop the takeover of our democracy. Right? They say every time, threats to our democracy, do whatever you can. They are fascists, they are Nazis, they need to be stopped. Violence is absolutely the only course that this union can take. And it doesn't help that we are coming off the heels of, we're not even off the heels, we're still in the same cycle of the outrage directed at Charlotte for the killing of the Ukrainian girl back on August 22nd, the video coming out and so forth. And I think the American people, the people of this union, are seeing things that people in my area, firearm security, all that kind of stuff, we were desperate to never have happen. What do I mean? We may prepare for war or for conflict or for any of these things, but we really do it because we don't want it to happen. And this week, the American public has been subjected to watching a 23-year-old girl die on a train, watch the life bleed out of her. And then today, in real time, watch the most influential person on the conservative side. I think it's pretty easy to say that Charlie Kirk, you could make the argument, was the glue that held the conservative side together, get shot in the neck. And I'm not going to lie, when I saw the up close video, I knew he was dead. There were two videos, the one from far away and the one from up close. And when you saw the video up close, you could have thoughts and prayers and you could hope for a miracle. But those of us in the know, or just those of us that have swam in these circles, went, yeah, he's dead. And I think people are being shocked into a reality. And I had a friend ask me this, saying, I said, let me see if I can actually pull up the text exchange so I can say exactly what I meant. He said, emotions are running hot. And I responded to him, it feels like people are waking up to the fact we are in much worse trouble than many realize. And I think people have been conditioned for the last 10 or so years that, oh, yeah, the leftists they have their little protests, the peaceful protests, and all these other kinds of things. And Johnny, the football guy, and Susie, the soccer mom, kind of went about their life because it didn't, unless it was impacting you, if you were in Portland or if you were in one of these cities that Black Lives Matter was decimating, it didn't matter. But you're watching in real time the realization that, wow, we really are in trouble. That things are not as great as we had hoped. And I'm not calling for violence. I hope there is none. I don't know what the course going forward is. But you have a lot on the right, and people in the chat are talking about it. There are a lot on the right. Greg Gutfeld dropped the F-bomb on Fox. Jesse Waters is calling for these things on Fox. You have a lot of people on the right demanding some kind of satisfaction. And I think that's the thing, James. He wasn't a person in any position of political importance, but he was influential. He was a guy, and once again, I disagreed with some of his style and some of the bombastic stuff, but he was successful at what he was doing. They went after thought leaders because there is no other recourse at this point. The left feels desperate. They have lost politically. It feels like they're losing culturally. With the way the left talks about you're losing your rights, and LGBT people are losing their rights, and women are losing their rights, and they're putting people in the left in a political position to make themselves feel like there is no other way out. And there is going to be a lot of things that will change going forward. I can only speculate on some of those things. The first one is, you've probably seen the last of any outdoor events from conservatives. Even Trump. Well, Trump's not running again, but you will not see outdoor events. Those outdoor rallies and things like that, they won't happen anymore. From a security standpoint, they're just not controllable. Secondly, we could potentially see a change in the discourse. Because Charlie Kirk, one of the things you could give him credit for I don't think it. I mean, a martyr is a Catholic thing. I think he will be a symbol, right? He'll be a symbol on the right, which is an interesting point you bring up, Dean. Where does Turning Point USA go? Organizations, no matter how strong of a foundation you build, they can never be the same once the person who establishes it leaves. When the person with the vision leaves, no matter how good of a foundation, it'll never be the same. Now, that's going to be interesting because what does Turning Point do going forward? I don't know. I think Charlie will be a symbol going forward for the right. Um, and it was an interesting thought to see how he would have been able to move on post this attempt. Now, Amy says that we'll never know who it was because he was super accurate. A 200-meter shot or a 200-yard shot. Um, that's not particularly hard. Anybody with any decent training can make a shot like that. So that's not a military grade shot. I will agree with you, Amy, that we will probably never know uh who did it. The idea is that they have the suspect in custody. They don't really, it's going to be interesting who's going to be set up for that because there is rage on the conservative side. Because think about it. Charlie Kirk was the one who at least went out to reach out to college students. Whatever his methods were, they had a specific strategy. Yeah, even my wife, who is not into politics, she sent me a text today. Charlie Kirk got shot because she sees his stuff on Instagram. The clippable things, the moments. And that's where you can tell, wow, it's going to be very impactful what's going to happen here. And so, well, let me at least show you this, Amy, and friends. This is where some people are saying the shot came from. The university stated, now this is all preliminary info. I will put it with a grain of salt that it could change as facts go on. But this is what they were saying. Charlie Kirk was speaking here, and the only place that could have had any kind of range was the Lucy Center up here. It's about 200 yards, which 200 yards with a rifle, any basic AR-15 can make that shot. You just have to do a little bit of training. And yes, I think the left was worried about Charlie's impact going forward and his organization's impact going forward. But just to watch the coverage today, and I watched Megyn Kelly because she was live, and the fact that people trying to come out and say, Glenn Beck was like, Charlie's in the emergency room and he's stable. Keep praying for him and miracles. While people in my sector were like, yeah, Charlie's probably dead. But we just didn't want to say anything. Yeah, Gen Zers did lose their voice today, Michael. It's a good point. And that's the thing. How will Turning Point USA continue to make the impact that it had made? How does the conservative movement replace somebody like Charlie Kirk? Yeah, there was a lot of, some of the spaces and the chats that I am a part of asked, this is very suspicious that this happens in light of some of the Epstein stuff and in light of the rage that was building in regards to what had happened in Charlotte. Because now the coverage shifts away from all of that. Yeah, I believe me, I saw Glenn Beck break down multiple times today as he talked about the fact that his daughter was very close to Charlie when his life was ended. So what do we think going forward? Because Charlie, despite the fact the win in 2024, the right was still fighting the culture war. And no, Mr. Grumpy, I don't think the neck was the intentional shot. If it was a pro, he would have gone center mass. He would have hit him a couple times straight in the sternum, and that would have been it. Um, that's why I don't think it was a professional. Yeah, I mean he was not holding it together well today, and I don't blame Glenn Beck for not holding it well together because I mean Charlie, especially with all of these conservative shows, right? They all kind of centered around Charlie, for lack of a better term. That's why I said he was the glue that really held the MAGA movement together. Think about any time Trump tried to make a message. Who was his number one guy and who was his number one organization? It was Turning Point. And so, and Megyn Kelly talked today about the fact that the only reason she's back in the good graces of the conservative movement is because Charlie Kirk invited her on his show. And then you had guys like Cenk Uygur, who's, thankful to Charlie for reaching out to him. Yeah, Michael, what does Trump do now? How does he approach this now? You have now, of course, that's the violence against him twice that we know of, the violence against Charlie now. Where does it go? Where does it go from here? What can he do? What can Trump do going forward? Does he go after Van Jones and NBC because Van Jones made some statements earlier this week singling out Charlie Kirk? Well, CNN. What does he do? Does he go after people online? I think so. I know TKD at one point when I was still there, I know he went to one Turning Point event. I don't know if he went to another or anything like that. I never kept up. Yeah, I don't know if TKD met up with Charlie. I'm sure because Charlie was very affable and he would go around and see people, so possibly. So I don't know what Trump does. I don't know what the response from the right is. I know the right wants a pound of flesh. I just don't know how they think they're going to get it. I don't know how they think they're going to be able to come at it. I believe that too, Catholic preppers. I believe that too. Because for Gen Z and for the youth, Charlie was kind of their lifeline to Trump as far as, hey man, if you talk to me at Turning Point USA, we got the president's ear, and we'll try to make it work. And he was a great representative for them. Like Michael said earlier, they've lost the hope of their voice has been lost. And it's also going to change how conservatives do business. I know the security industry is going to get a lot more intense for the right. Any significant streamer on the right needs to take their security measures much more seriously now. Because before, the idea and the threat of political violence was always there. If you're a celebrity or if you're well known, there's always a risk of some kind of violence. Now it's legit. Now it is legitimized. It's not just politicians anymore, as was stated. And also, this trickles down into this idea. What if you are a known conservative at your job, in your neighborhood, in your town? Do you have to keep your head on a swivel now? Because the assassination of Charlie Kirk feels like an assassination on all conservatives. And it feels like an attack on all conservatives. Because as some of you said, he wasn't a politician. He was a guy expressing himself, doing his job, trying to reach out to people. And a lot of people are saying, and I will say this, people are stating that, listen, Charlie Kirk was very, he was often very giving to the left. What do I mean? He was willing to meet people halfway. With the murder in Charlotte and the assassination of Charlie Kirk, some may think that the only answer is the policies. I'm not saying this, but there may be an evisceration of the moderate right. Notice how there's really not a moderate left anymore. There's kind of just like the far left and how far you are on that grade scale. There's going to be a push, I feel, not for me. There's going to be a push to become more extreme in the beliefs and more steadfast in the beliefs and do more to defend those beliefs. It really does feel like there's not going to be an off-ramp. There's not going to be a way to turn this thing around. And so it is. It's a sad day because I think for a lot of people, the glass has finally shattered. If you can't go to an outdoor event and listen to somebody speak publicly without fear of that person losing their life, where are we? Yeah, Phoebe. People like me have been talking about preparing for a while. One thing I will say is that today's events makes all of us, and I'll speak for myself, realize that the next time you can get to confession, it's probably a good idea. The next time you can get to a confessional, you probably should get there as soon as possible. It is even more important nowadays to stay in a state of grace. Yeah, pink camo, that is a very good point. Do we have just random violence from people to others based on their political affiliation now? Yeah. You have to be as resilient on as possible. Our Lady, Our Lady is amazing for a reason. Stay close to the Holy Mother. Yeah, I don't, and here's the thing, Amy, I don't know how quickly this escalates. It's going to be interesting if Trump speaks tonight or the next time Trump speaks, because that's going to set the tone and tenor for for this going forward. I know you've had people on the left tweeting things out. Oh, political violence, there's no place for it. Bernie's done it, AOC's done it, Kamala's done it, all these people have done it. But we all know that those words ring hollow, and it's a CYA moment for those people. Because what they're trying to do is trying to cover up the fact that they have egged this violence on, that they have egged these people on. You got Harry Sisson and Dean Withers. If you don't know who they're just a couple of loser left wing influencers. Destiny, you might not know any of these people, but they're online, who have been calling Republicans Nazis and all these other kinds of things. They're trying to backtrack real quick. But people don't forget this kind of stuff. Yeah, that's really all you can do. It's really all you can do. And so the idea and the tragic death of Charlie Kirk, and here's the thing, guys and gals. The death of Charlie Kirk is not even 3 hours old. I think he died at 4-ish. Let me check, because I know I posted something from Trump at that time. Let me see exactly when Trump pushed it out. Let's see here. Where are you, buddy? Oh, 2 hours ago. It's been less than 2 hours, 3 hours. Trump posted this at 3:40. It's been less than 3 hours since Charlie Kirk died. Hey, Catholic Pipe Company, thanks for joining us, bud. And so we're still absorbing this. I don't think that there's nothing really you can say. I watched Tim Pool. He just kind of went on here and went, I don't know what to talk about. We're still talking about a Catholic Jedi. There's nothing else to talk about today. The big thing I was going to talk about is what Michael had here, where Poland is trying to force Russia into a NATO war. Maybe this is, guys, maybe this is the false flag, or maybe this, I don't want to call it a false flag, the event, the distraction event that gets people off of the crazy circumstances that happened in Poland last night, where everybody went, that's really weird that Russia attacked Poland. And now we're talking about Charlie Kirk, while you've got the powers that be trying to, because I think Poland invoked Article 4, either 4 or 5. And Trump was supposed to speak to the president of Poland today. Maybe he did before this happened to Charlie. But obviously, Trump's got to be dealing with this. Of course, as president, you got to deal with multiple things at multiple times. I'm not saying he can't, but it is interesting that this is the main story everybody's talking about. Obviously, because we live in such a digitized world, because we live in such a world that's based on screens. And if you're on the right, it really feels like all of us are in one way, shape, or form uh a version of Charlie Kirk. We may not have been as extreme in some beliefs or some other beliefs, but we all were pushing for that. Uh, so it is what it is in that regard. So the whole Poland thing is interesting, and how that's been just tossed on the back burner because nobody in these spaces are going to be talking about anything but Charlie. I'm sure they might talk about other things, but the fact is, all of social media, and now they're starting to put things together like, hey, um, today's 9/10, and this shooting was done on 9/10. Kind of interesting in that regard, right? So people are, and let me see. What I'm doing right now is POTUS just went live on Brett Baer, so I'm getting that video. Uh let's see here. Let me get this one.
Can we bring in John Solomon? John,
this was the video from earlier today that John Solomon from Just the News was the first to correctly report on the death of Charlie Kirk, which is still really weird to say. Really weird to say that Charlie Kirk is dead. Because people, he was 31 years old. He had a lot he had a lot of life left in him. He does not get to enjoy the back half of his life. And so all of these things. Wow, that's pretty interesting. The New York the New York Yankees have actually taken a moment of silence, and I don't like the Yankees, but still, listen to this from Trump.
Just a few moments ago, before this show, I talked to the President of the United States on the phone. He had obviously already posted on Truth Social. He had said some other things, but did want to pass on something else publicly, and said I could pass this on. Quote, all of this violence cannot happen. Charlie Kirk was such an amazing guy. He really captured the youth, the imagination of the youth. He was an unbelievable patriot. He really convinced millions and millions of young people that MAGA was the way to go. Today is so sad. He was an amazing person who was not afraid to talk to and confront the other side, just talk to them, debate them, and explain why they were wrong and MAGA was right. Nobody was better. It's such a tragic day. Again, that's President Trump just moments ago before the show.
So that was Trump to Brett Baer. It's going to be interesting to see what he says. Check this out, guys. Talking about cultural impact. Okay? The New York Yankees actually took a moment to honor Charlie Kirk. That's regardless how important he was to American culture, how ingrained he became in American culture. So, Mr. Grumpy, that's what we're talking about. This was he taken out for lack of a better term? I know that's an insensitive thing, especially the fact it's officially been 3 hours since he was pronounced dead. Was he, let's use this correct word, was he sacrificed for a different thing? What are we supposed to be focusing on instead? So it is, and the most heart-wrenching thing is the videos of his little daughter. There's a video of running to him on a set of like Fox and Friends or something like that. But golly, that would hurt. And really, what we're seeing We saw that. But I think what really has taken a lot of people by surprise is how happy people are that he's dead. How happy people are that he's no longer here. Steph, I'm just asking. All we're doing is asking. I'm not saying it's a conspiracy. These are things to consider because all we're doing is speculating on the tragic death of a young man. That's all. I don't think Charlie Kirk was Catholic. Although he was very positive about the Blessed Virgin Mary in one of his last shows. So I don't think he can be a martyr because he wasn't Catholic. And he didn't, to be a martyr, you have to die for the faith. Right? Like King Louis during the French Revolution. I don't know which Louis it was. You could make the argument he was a martyr because, you know, he praised God before he died. But Charlie Kirk was not a great friend to Catholics. I mean, he understood how important of a voting block it was, but he wasn't, you know, the Michael Knowles interview and all these other kinds of things happened. I'm not trying to degrade him at this point, but yeah, he had the typical evangelical Protestant opinions of Catholics. Can't hold that against him, but I don't think he can be a martyr. So, well, Dean, I understand we are talking about it, but I don't like. For me, Dean, I don't like to use the word martyr because it waters down the Catholic significance. We can use the word symbol. He can be a symbol for the right, but I don't like. I personally, you guys can. It doesn't matter how I think and how that works out to you. But for me, I don't like to use Catholic stuff in secular context because it waters down the meaning of it. And all we're doing is really just kind of talking about how tragic of a scene this is and how terrible it is that we watch this in real time, how we witnessed the fact that people celebrating this. And yes, I am not saying this is an op, and I am not saying this is a conspiracy. We're really just kind of throwing out things. If someone near him had medical on them, no. I'm not going to show the video, but like I said, anybody in the know would say as soon as you saw the amount of blood that was lost, all of us went, yeah, he's dead. I mean, maybe if you, because this artery up here, this area where it was, it just, the amount of blood he lost in that time, he probably had kind of like if you watch the girl in Charlotte, how quickly she passed from stab wounds. You know, loss of blood can be pretty. People don't take out quickly when you lose a huge amount of blood. So I don't believe there was any way to save him, which is sad because people are like, "Oh, he's getting blood transfusions, he's in stable condition," and of course, I did a couple Aves for him. I didn't want to see him die, especially in that fashion. But I also came to the conclusion that yes, you know, he was probably not going to make it. So, yeah, Steph, I think people are doing the conspiracy stuff to fill a gap, right? When there's no information on stuff, there's a vacuum, there's a void, and people are just desperate to try and fill in those pieces. So that's why I see people doing well, was it done because of the Poland thing, or was it done because of this thing or that, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, you can say, well, that's interesting that that's happening, or yeah, it's interesting that 9/11 is tomorrow, or this. But like we've said on this show, we are not ascribing to any specific conspiracy. We are not saying that it's an op or it's an interesting idea that I'm not willing to go after. But it is one of these things that people are just trying to backfill their own knowledge gaps because we don't want to feel powerless. Conspiracy theories are a response to feeling powerless. We don't know what's going on. What happened? How could this happen? How could Charlie Kirk, who 1 minute was alive and well and throwing hats out into the crowd and getting everybody fired up, and then an hour later was being dragged into a car bleeding to death? How do we put these things together? Yeah, Duchess, we do. I think we all can agree that no matter what the outcome is, that this was a politically charged hit. Yeah, Gavin said some stuff, but he got called out on it pretty quick because Gavin was making fun of Trump's assassination attempt, and he was making light of Trump's assassination attempt, just like Kamala and just like AOC and just like any of these people who were saying, oh, political violence has no place in America. It's like, you guys were calling white people the enemy of America. And of course, they all had to say, oh, the tragedy of gun violence. Listen, man, Utah, and of course, it's in Utah, which is a red state, which is terrible. But it happened on a gun-free zone. All college campuses. Well, actually, I don't know if Utah has gun-free zones or not. The thing is, right now, Bellator, all of this stuff, as far as information on the shooter, and there's some video that's going around X right now that I don't believe is true. I don't. All right, let's see. We have, excuse me, the governor of Utah has just done a press conference. Let me download that video and I'll bring it to you guys momentarily. Let's see, Utah one. Just trying to make this stuff work here. But yes, people are just trying to struggle with the events of today. And I completely get it. I completely get it because it's numbing to think that this could actually happen here. This could actually take place here. We just saw it. This is not a history event or something that took place 20 or 30 years ago. This is today. We watched it in high def from multiple angles. That was streamed to the internet in real time. And so it's one of these things that is not very comforting. I think people are uncomfortable, as they should be, and as people like myself have been begging people to take seriously for the last 5 to 7 years. All right, here we go. I got the video. Just give me a second.
Speaking on campus.
I'm sure it was. It's only 2 minutes, so it's not going to be a lot. Here we go.
This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination. We are celebrating 250 years of the founding of this great nation. founding document, the Declaration of Independence, that this great experiment on which we embarked together 250 years ago, that we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. The first one of those is life.
All right. You thanks, buddy. Okay, you're good. You can go away. Now, for the Catholics here, I was able to upload this. I want you to take a listen to this one real quick.
But let me first say, I think we as Protestant evangelicals under-venerate Mary. She was very important. She was a vessel for our Lord and Savior. I think that we as evangelicals and Protestants, we've overcorrected. We don't talk about Mary enough. We don't venerate her enough. Mary was clearly important to early Christians. There's something there. In fact, I believe one of the ways that we fix toxic feminism in America is Mary is the solution. Have more young ladies be pious, be reverent, to be full of faith, slow to anger, slow to words at times. Mary is a phenomenal example, and I think a counter to so much of the toxicity of feminism in the modern era.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, Peter. The vessel stuff is kind of annoying, but that's for a Protestant or an evangelical, that's the best you're going to get. Michael has a great point that the assassination of the 60s led to decades of political turmoil in the 70s. And I think that's what we're gearing up for, because you have two factions in this union. You have Republicans, conservatives, MAGAs, whatever you want to call them. And then you have the political left, which has been indulged for 10 years. So it's going to be interesting in that regard. I'm going to go one. All right. Good question, Captain Rex. So the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure your home, your own castle is safe. How that is, practical things like cameras, things like that, security systems. Secondly, and this is harder for us to do now because we live in a transient society, is you need to get in touch with fellow conservatives or fellow Catholics to ensure that you guys have a plan in case things go wrong. Third, and probably the most important out of all of these. Now, there's a lot of important stuff. Making sure your home is protected, making sure your community is safe. I think the most something that we've been talking about in this like gun space area, first aid training. I think too many people have gone away for too long on training. Now, there's a couple books that I can recommend. They're not mine, unfortunately. But this gentleman named Don Shift has written some pretty impressive books that I highly recommend. And I'm going to show them to you right now. So he has these books called Suburban Defense. He's written Suburban Warfare, Rural Home Defense, and Poor Man's Air Force, where he talks about drones. If you're looking for a place to start, Catholic men, Suburban Defense and Suburban Warfare on Amazon. I'll drop a link in the chat to his website. I suggest you guys get his books because they actually talk about this stuff. Oh, political polarization is going to become even more toxic. Catholic preppers, unite. So, you have the books? Nice. Look at you, Mark. You already know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the Troons are the new Weather Underground. And they have it established. They have all these things ready to go. So it's something that we have to pay attention to. Now, does Trump go after it? I don't know how he goes after it. Does he bust it? I don't know. So it's It's a tragic situation that we need to hear what Trump is going to do. I think that's what people are looking to Trump in this moment, and what he's going to, how he is going to push back in that regard for these things. But as far as this, guys, I mean, I really don't have anything else. It's kind of one of these things. Come on, kind of absorb the situation as is, kind of just digest it in real time, because we live in the age where you can digest a political assassination 3 hours and talk to anybody about it. So that's going to be it for tonight's show. Thank you guys for coming on and hanging out with me so far. Do me a favor, if this is your first time here, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification bell. The show's a little bit more it's a little bit more organized than tonight, but the fact is that we didn't have a lot of information, and we really just wanted to kind of come on and talk to the bar rats, to the wrenches. If you want to be a wrench, you can be a wrench as well. You just got to let me know if you want to be one. And just kind of see how you guys are doing. So for my Catholic brothers and sisters, pray a rosary tonight for Charlie Kirk and his soul, and for his wife and for his children. Pray that they are given strength and comfort in this time, because his poor wife, her world has been destroyed over nothing, over stupid politics. My fellow Catholics, get to confession as soon as possible. Stay in a state of grace as much as possible. And just try to live unafraid. Because right now, there's two things that are percolating: anger and fear. Anger and fear. And I think we should definitely not give in to either. Because for those on the right that are looking for blood, that want to get vengeance, I'll give you the Bible. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And as far as anger, we cannot go down that road. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I will talk to you all tomorrow. I'm online at Stradcath on X. I'll just show you. I can't spell anyway. If you've watched the show long enough, you know I can't spell. If you want to follow me on X, I'm Stradcath on X, also Stradcath on Instagram. You can email me, barrettbrief@gmail.com, if you have any kind of questions that you are thinking about prepping, the books, whatever the case may be. Hit me up. Be vigilant, my fellow Catholics. Stay in a state of grace and put your faith, hope, and trust in our Lord and Savior. God bless. And we won't end the show as we normally do. So we'll end it this way. God bless, and may God have mercy on the soul of Charlie Kirk.